So let's talk about Gio's favorite team of all time, the Golden State Warriors.
Oof.
They had a very rocky season, as per usual since the dynasty ended. Because if we just recap the last decade, you win a title in 2015, you get Kevin Durant, go 73-9, and lose in the finals, blowing a 3-1 lead in 2016. You go back-to-back in 2017, 2018. 2019, you play the Raptors in the finals, everyone gets injured, and then you lose KD. Klay Thompson gets re-injured in 2020, and then you miss that season. The Warriors were in purgatory for 2021, and then 21-22, they just have this black magic under themselves, and they win a championship again. Steph Curry goes God mode in the playoffs. And then the past 3 years, past 2 years, I guess, they've been bounced in the second round, the play-in, and then this year got bounced in the second round once again.
Yeah.
So now you know the full story of the modern-day Golden Warriors, past the We Believe era.
Exactly, yeah.
And we get to this year. So obviously this year, none of us predicted them to get to the playoffs. We all had them finishing 11th. They did very well in the in-season tournament, got themselves to, I believe, the quarterfinals before losing to, I think, Houston. And then, they kind of start faltering off a bit after the hot start, and you make a trade for Jimmy Butler. Huge trade. It was like a 6-team deal, bunch of moving parts, but at the end of the day, you get the guy you wanted. And to be quite honest with you, when the trade worked, and Jimmy Butler looked incredible with this Warriors team, and then he gets hurt in the first round against Houston, lands right on his tailbone, and then Steph Curry gets injured in Game 1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony just farted, by the way, so we're just gonna quickly move
He's right
on
next
from
to me
that.
too.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm on the other side of the room. But Gio, obviously we know you're a diehard Warriors fan.
Definitely not.
So just what's your evaluation in the most unbiased way of their season?
Impossible. First of all, I can't be unbiased, but my evaluation is I would have been correct if they never traded for Jimmy Butler. In that they wouldn't have made the playoffs, but Jimmy Butler definitely turned their season around, like completely 180 degrees. He made them into the We Believe Warriors again.
Yeah,
because it's like once he got there, he pretty much lifted uplifted all his teammates, and everyone was like all of a sudden riding the Jimmy Butler wave. Even Curry, like all of them are riding that Jimmy Butler wave. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you run it back with Jimmy and Steph. See what you do in the next season.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good duo. Like it seems like their chemistry, right from the jump, their chemistry was pretty good. So imagine what like a full season of that looks like. And then I think, of course, what do you think they'll do with Kuminga? That's my question.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to touch on something with Jimmy Butler real quick.
Yeah.
I think he is the modern day just We Believe.
Yeah.
Just what he's been able to do throughout his career, especially with Miami. The 2 times they made the finals, those Heat teams had a combined seeding of 13. That's insane. You managed to take that Lakers team to 6 games, and you actually gave Denver their only loss at home that postseason in the finals, which is pretty crazy. So shout out Jimmy.
Yeah.
But let me actually pull up. There was a link I had saved regarding Jimmy Butler and not Jimmy Butler. What's his face?
Kuminga.
Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the tweet right here. It's from Legion Hoops. And it says that, sorry, the internet's kind of slow right now. I don't know why this is zoomed in so far. But it says, Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors are expected to explore sign and trade scenarios per Anthony Slater.
Yeah.
Now, Steve Kerr obviously told Kuminga that next season he's going to be back better than ever. But, the coach doesn't always have the final say. And in essence, Kuminga, they did what the Nets tried to do with Cam Thomas, and he commands this type of contract. He wants like 5 years for $225, $230, and the Warriors don't want to pay him that. He's not worth anywhere near that. So they started giving him DNPs to lower his value, so they can pay him a cheaper contract.
Yeah.
So I'll go to you, Antoine. What contract do you genuinely think Kuminga deserves for a 5-year deal? Because that's what he's going to get.
Yeah.
And where do you think he'll wind up? Because he could be anywhere.
Yeah. So that's like their biggest problem this offseason. Everybody else as a free agent doesn't really thread the needle for them a lot. It's basically Kuminga because the sign and trade is the most, I think, plausible thing for them to do just because they'll get a lot of return back for him. If I'm being honest, He's gonna go to the Nets. I think the Nets trade literally 2 of their picks or 1 of their picks this year in the draft class and get Kuminga.
Kuminga's not worth a first. Not
Yeah.
a chance. If anything, I'll give him Cam Johnson for Kuminga, but I'm not giving a first. I'm protecting that first.
I know the
Yeah.
Nets. I think they're gonna go for a team that has a pick or like a mid-table pick. Is Miami have a mid-table pick this year?
I don't think so. They probably do actually because they were an 8 seed.
Yeah, I think he goes to the East team. He goes out east. It's either Brooklyn, Miami. I think that's literally the only options I have.
Chicago's another option.
You mean like swapping Giddy and him?
No, you'd probably trade like Vucevic and Lonzo.
Yeah.
Well, they do need a center. They could move for Claxton on Brooklyn.
They could,
move
yeah.
for who else? Center for Kuminga. Sabonis doesn't really do much for that. Who else? Vooch, like you said, Vooch would work for that actually too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like what else could they
They
could do.
need a center. That's literally the only thing I could do with this trade is get a center in return or a high pick to get a center in a draft.
Right. And like, I just don't think the Warriors are going to get it with this trade. I feel like the Warriors are going to have to just find someone on the scrap heap in the free agency market, and there's just not many good options. Like,
Yeah.
what's your best chance? Brooke Lopez? Like, that's not really. You're not getting Miles Turner now that they made the Eastern Conference Finals. He's staying. He's sticking around. He's probably going to be a Pacer for life. But with Kuminga, I feel like, and even if the Nets give him an offer sheet, like if they don't do the sign and trade, the Warriors will just match whatever they give him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I could definitely see us. I could definitely see us ending this summer with both Kuminga and Giannis on the team,
Oh wow.
which would be kind of funny, and that would be the most Nets thing ever because that team's nowhere near good enough to compete for a championship. But
So you don't think Kuminga stays in the Warriors?
no,
No, yeah.
Do you think the Warriors could use him,
no.
or does he have a role there?
I think there is a role, but I just don't think he fits Steve Kerr's philosophy. I think
Why?
I don't know. I just based on the DNPs, he's not getting the minutes.
Well, you know why? It's because his value. They don't want his
Right.
value because they actually want him. Maybe.
Exactly. But
So-
at the end of the day, I'm just not sure.
I think
I don't know, man.
the relationship's too sour.
You
for
think
them to
so?
Continue.
How do you know this?
No, I just think just because
You would assume that, but
I would
maybe
assume
Steve
it.
Kerr is saying
He was-
We really want you here. Maybe this is what Steve Kerr is saying. We want you here so bad
I don't
because
know.
we really believe in the talent that you have, and this is the reason why we're not going to play you because your value would go up and we wouldn't be able to afford you. But we value you so
the
much.
Warriors.
Maybe that's what's
the
going on
Warriors
behind closed doors.
can't afford him. It's not an issue. About
That could be another thing too, because the Warriors' payroll is stupidly high. So if he winds up signing for maybe 10 mil more, for example, per year, then that means it's gonna be a more expensive trade you have to make with
Yeah.
the sign and trade. So maybe they don't want to do that. I just feel like they've exhausted their options with Kuminga, and I feel like they just want to move on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beneficiary. It's a benefit for both. And then Draymond has a player option next year. That could be the last year for him. Retire after that. See how long he plays.
How old is Draymond?
37.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He might have one more year. That player option, pick it up, and that's it. Retire. after
Yeah,
that.
that's it.
But that's it. Yeah, I got nothing else for Golden State. I think they run it back.
He's 35. Sorry.
Yeah.
35.
But still, he's got his beard's gray. It doesn't really matter at this point.
I'm
You know he's
looking.
old.
I will look for a big jump for Pods this year, third year,
We'll see, man.
before his contract extension sets in for him, of course.
Well, they'll pick up his 4th-year option.
Yeah.
They'll do the cheap
and
route.
then Trace Jackson Davis kind of iffy on that. They have a Quentin Post.
Buddy Hield.
Buddy He'll be back. Yeah, I mean we'll see what else they bring in. We know last year in the free agency they brought in the 3 guys: D'Anthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, and Buddy Hield, and 2 of those guys were gone mid-season.
Yeah.
So and they kept Buddy Hield. So they could do the same thing, bring in a nice bench of guys that fit the team. Maybe move on from 1 or 2 of them. And D'Anthony Melton got a bad injury. That's why they moved on from him.
Yeah, he was used in the Schroeder trade.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing. The Warriors just need to make smarter decisions. Like Dennis Schroeder
Dennis
did not
Schroeder
need
did
to.
not
That
work out.
wasn't a trade that needed to be made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
So if anything, they just got to tighten up next season and get Steph some adequate help, so that way he's not doing everything to the point where he gets hurt. Because that's essentially what happened. He played 7 games of having to shoulder pretty much the entire offense, and just no one else could really give him anything. Like Jimmy Butler was awful against Minnesota. I mean, he was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it was only him, though.
I know, but at the end of the day, we didn't see that killer instinct like we did in Miami. And that was only a year or 2 ago. And Dwayne Wade, I think it was either Dwayne Wade or Udonis Haslem said that Jimmy Butler isn't that guy anymore. And, there's probably some sour grapes from the way he left Miami. I understand that. But maybe they're onto something. And, Jimmy Butler's on one of the most expensive contracts next season. If he's playing like this, that's going to be an awful contract. It's already a net negative. $60 million a year for that. You can't have that happen. That's just bad business management from Golden State.